Okay, good morning and welcome to I think this is our fourth homeschooling call. We're going to be chatting all about habit stacking. Let me get my notes. I have the chat up and I'm getting a little better at navigating both of those things. Okay, so if you're unsure exactly what habit stacking is, don't worry. I reached out to Crystal a couple of days ago and I kind of was giving her my ideas of how I wanted the call to go. And she is so good at edifying what I'm trying to say. And she basically was like, that's habit stacking. And she called me right away and we had an amazing conversation. And I'm excited to share the information with you today. I am not a very experienced homeschool mom. I've said this almost on every call, but I have been a teacher for many years. I quit teaching when I had children, and I'm a mom of four. We're homeschooling. I have a special needs son, a medical son, and they're all boys. So our house is kind of crazy. So I humbly come before you. And basically, what makes me, why am I teaching this is because I am willing to study for you through the month and give you exactly what you need to hear on the topic. So I know that we're so busy, but the Father has been blessing me with time to be able to connect and seek wisdom. And I'm so eager to seek wisdom of women in the cafe um, that know way more than me. And I'm excited to bring you guys that information. So I wanted to share a little bit of what my day could look like at times, and you can tell me in the chat if this sounds anything like you. This is really sometimes a typical day, especially when I don't set my intentions right. Okay. So I'll give you a little layout of my house. Upstairs, we have my husband and I's bedroom, and then we have two other bedrooms. The baby's with us, and then we have my two younger kids in a room, and then my oldest has his own. So at 3 a.m., my 3-year-old has a stuffy nose. He's screaming. I have to go in and make sure he's okay. At 4 a.m., my baby needs to nurse. 5 a.m., my 7-year-old has a belly ache. He has sensory needs. So that means he has to go to the bathroom, which usually takes anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes. So I had to, deal with that. I finally fall back asleep. And then at around 6 o'clock, my son is peeking into my room because he wants a granola bar. He's hungry. He's asking if he can have one. At 6:30, all the kids are screaming because one child is singing and the other one doesn't like it. They're all coming into my room. And so we're going down for breakfast. I'm in autopilot. I'm trying to make coffee. I'm starting breakfast, turning the Bible on. Kids are dancing and running around. I'm screaming that breakfast is ready. The living room is now a complete disaster. My son is not interested in eating breakfast, so he runs down to play. The rest of them follow, including myself, because I'm like, this is a great opportunity for me to finish a hot cup of coffee. So I leave the mess in the kitchen, and now the living room's a mess, the kitchen's a mess. I go downstairs to enjoy my coffee. The baby poops. Kids are building train tracks. I forget to give my son his medicine, decide to randomly empty the dishwasher. Kids are fighting. I yell down. Now, every single room is a mess. I'm triggered. Homeschool hasn't even started, and my coffee is cold. And on top of that, I've spent no time with the Lord. And this is why I'm passionate about trying to figure out how we can make our day go a lot smoother. And sometimes that's not only just following a schedule, but creating habits inside of our day so we're not overwhelmed and we're not trying to catch up on everything, all the mess, all the clutter, um, all the ways that we neglected ourselves throughout the days and the weeks. And we're trying to fit it into either nap time or when the kids go to bed. Because at the end of the day, it's really hard for me then to be a wife to my husband and to also take care of myself. So if we could take some time in between our days and filter in some of these habits, these positive habits for ourselves, we're going to make our days smoother and we're going to be taking care of ourselves. So we're not going to reach the point of breaking. Okay. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to share a little bit about what habit stacking is, why it's important, and then give you a call of action. And then we could brainstorm together how we can fit in these bits and pieces throughout our day. What are going to be some ways that we can apply this to our day? And it's going to look different for everyone, but I'm excited because I think roundtabling for this is going to be really important. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And start our slideshow. Okay, habit stacking, making the most out of small moments. If you can't see this, just unmute and let me know, but I'm going to start. Okay, so I'm going to be, a lot of this information came from Crystal, so thank you. And also the book Mother Culture. And one of the giveaways that we're going to have, I'm going to share in our chat after. So I don't have to waste time for people that are watching the recorded video. But Mother Culture, I'm going to be giving away this book. I love this book and I'm going to be referencing it a lot. And so I want to read a little bit. I'm going to be just reading bits and pieces to you. Okay, when I'm asked, what is mother culture? I usually say something like this. Mother culture is a skillful art, which a mother looks after the ways of her household and herself. In her home, she creates a culture all on her own with a mingling of love and responsibility. A mother does a lot of taking care, so she has to take care of herself. So much depends on how she manages her life. So that definitely resonated with me. And that is how I got inspired to share some ideas with you today. Okay, what is a habit? A habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. And it's kind of like what I read before, mothers should cultivate their souls so that in turn they may cultivate the souls of their children. I know for me, when I'm running on empty, it's really hard to pour out myself to my children. And I often become overwhelmed, which leads to me either not being emotionally available to them, me acting emotionally out, whether that is raising my voice, definitely not displaying the fruits of the spirit, and then me feeling guilty about it. So it's this cycle. So I'm trying to incorporate things in my day, and I'm encouraging you to do the same so we don't reach that point. And so we can continue to cultivate the souls of the children that the Lord entrusted us with. And I want to remind you that these are the children that you were given for a reason and for a purpose. So when it feels overwhelming, take a breath. The Lord knows what he's doing, and you are the mom for your children. Okay. It is an investment. So one of the things I want to share, I'm going to be sharing 3 little points and tips, is that it is an investment. Many hands make for light work. When Crystal shared this with me, it really stuck with me. At first, I thought she said many hands, it's a play on words, make for light work. So we have to be able to train those many hands so we can all work together. So it doesn't fall all on you, mom, because it can't, because that's once again is going to lead to burnout. A minute invested now is an hour saved later. And this is often really challenging for me because I would rather just clean breakfast up really fast for my children because I know that we can move on to the next thing. So I am trying to be less worried about the objectives and more worried about the process, if that makes sense. And so if we can spend a minute and invest the minute now to just teach our children to just bring their bowl to the sink. It might take a minute for your child to be able to do that, but at the end of the day, at the end of, the weeks of creating the habit, you're teaching them the habit and you're leading by example, then an hour is going to be saved down the line and they're going to learn how to be responsible for themselves. 21 days. Does a habit take 21 days? And where does this even come from? So I was trying to research where this came from. I got a couple of different answers, but one that was the most consistent was a popular answer is 21 days for a habit to form. I figure that can be traced back to Dr. Maxwell Maltz, a cosmetic surgeon and author of Psycho-Cybernetics. And this is from 1960. In his book, he reported that patients needed a minimum of 21 days to change their mental image of how they looked. Since then, many people just applied the 21-day time frame to habits. However, not all behaviors are going to take that, which we know. Some of them are going to be automatic and some of them are going to take maybe months to be able to form and to stick with. And I think it's really great for our children to see us try and fail and try again and fail and then finally stick with something, because they're not going to feel hard on themselves when I have to, when they're failing at creating a habit, or not failing, but they forget to do something and they have to start all over again. You're modeling that for them. So not only are you modeling healthy behaviors, you're also modeling the ebb and flow of being able to try something and what's not working, what's working. Okay, and yes, we are investing, of course, into our children and into these habits, and it's going to take some time. But in the end, we are twice blessed. And I want us to be able to pray for our hearts because we know that God loves a cheerful giver. And sometimes it's really hard to do all of these things cheerfully. Like, I want my children to see the peace in my face when I'm sharing these habits with them and helping and training them up. But sometimes I am in a rush, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm tired. And so I have to pray for my heart because I want to give cheerfully to them. So I want to read you a little bit, a little story or a little bit of this chapter. Okay, it says generous outpourings. I wonder if the writer of Proverbs has hardening back to Genesis 24 when he wrote the theme twice blessed, referring to watering. Rebecca, in drawing water from the stranger, Abraham's servant, serves in a much greater way than is expected of her. When she has finished giving him a drink, she says, I will draw water from for your camels also until they have finished drinking. And I know we talked a lot about this in the portion about the camels. And actually, if you research how much they can drink, it says here they can drink gallons, which we know. 10 camels, as were present, could drink between 140 and 250 gallons. How many trips to the well would this require of Rebecca? The story says she descended to get the water, so it possibly meant that there were steps to climb up and down. It could easily have been taking her an hour, at the very least, to fill up all of the water enough for 10 camels. Yet she willingly goes beyond the normal custom, which I love that part because nowadays the normal customs and the ways of the world, it's convenience. And one of the things when I started my homeschool journey, or even realizing that I didn't want to parent my children the way that the world does, it was really hard for me to think, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Until I went before the Lord, and he clearly told me that, yes, you do not want to conform to the ways of the world. And so I was just thinking about this too, that of giving a servant a drink. And so this was something that it was not a normal social custom. In return, God blesses her. I'm not thinking of gold jewelry that she was given. I'm thinking how Rebecca unknowingly showed herself to the predestined bride for Isaac. She will marry a man who is like no other eligible bachelor in the world at that time. Isaac is a man that seeks righteousness. He places his faith in and has a relationship with the Almighty God. To Abraham and his son Isaac, God imparts the promise everlasting. Rebecca walks into the blessing of a marriage made in heaven. So, like Rebecca, a home teacher shows her servant heart. Her hour by hour by hour outpouring goes beyond the normal customs and expectations of the world. This is because it is God whom she serves. Remember, we do not conform. We do not serve the world. We are serving God. So everything that we're doing because he entrusted us with the children as if we're serving him. When I have a really hard time parenting my child with special needs, he has autism, there's a lot of times it's really hard for me to get past certain behaviors. And I just keep thinking, okay, I'm doing this because I'm serving the Lord, not because I have to. And that's one of my challenges as a mom. God will bless the faithful home teacher who is generous, outpouring with spiritual abundance, satisfying enrichment, and deep, noble affections. Her eyes will open to new blessings. And as she starts her day, she will be twice blessed. Her family enjoys the radiant living. Here I am, I will do it. In the words of Lord Jesus, give and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will you put into your lap. For with the measure you use, it'll be measured back to you. So remember, as we're investing into our children, it is tedious and it is hard, but we will be, twice blessed back. And so I wanted to share a little bit. This is my little one in the kitchen. I found this video and I wanted to share it with y'all. It. Put it down. Flatten it out. Tap, tap, tap the chicken cutlet. Okay, 1 second. Tap, tap, tap the chicken cutlet now. Gotta tap it on top. Tap, tap, tap. Yep. Okay, so that alone has taken me a long. We usually make like chicken cutlets or something that they can help for Shabbat. And so he is so excited that he finally got it And I took this little video to show my husband because in the beginning the eggs were all over the place and I was so overwhelmed. But finally, this little victory, it doesn't always end like this, but I hope this was encouraging to you. And I want you to photograph and video those little moments or write them in a journal. I know that, you could do button moments where you're putting a button into a jar. And I really think that when our kids get something, we should reward ourselves and even reward myself in prayer, just thanking the Father for giving me the strength to be persistent and to keep going. Okay, discipline. So we look at ourselves first and then lead by example. This is a very hard thing for me sometimes. Okay, one of the negative habits that I have, or bad, habits that I have, is I leave my clothes on the floor. And usually, like, all the wives are like, "Oh, my husband doesn't pick up his clothes." This is me through and through. At the end of the night, I take a hot shower with, I love like a hot glass of tea or whatever, and I go in the shower by myself. I lock the door, and I don't want to pick up my clothes. But my kids now are doing the same thing, and my husband's like, "Why do they leave their clothes everywhere?" And I'm always picking them up, and I'm like, "Well, probably because I do it." A good behavior though is like when my baby is crying, my children go over to Ezra, my smallest, and they'll sing him the same song that I sang to him in my belly, that I gave birth to him to, and they're actually singing the same song, which is the cutest thing ever. So there's good habits and bad habits, but I think we have to work on ourselves first. So like, you better bet that I'm going around picking up my clothes, because how am I going to try to teach my children that if I'm not doing the same? Okay. Good habits is what enables a family to work together and play together with minimal friction. So you want to enjoy those great times. You want Shabbat to be happy, cheerful, and you want the shalom to be in your home. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but it's going to take a lot of work and discipline. So you can work together with minimal friction, and they can learn, your kids aren't going to learn how to go back and forth with each other and figure things out if they're not led by example, if they're not disciplined, and if they're not taught. True courtesy. This is from Crystal. I love this so much. True courtesy is not making more work for others. And even yesterday, we were at the store we were at the doctor's, and the doctor gave my children lollipops, and my one son threw the wrapper on the floor. The other one threw it in the trash, and my little guy just like threw it. And I remember Crystal saying that normally I'd probably just pick it up and say, "We have to put it in the trash." But instead I said, "Graham, you have to go over, pick up your wrapper. We don't want to make work for, we don't want to make more work for other people." And I think in our home, that's a great way to teach them as well, so they're considerate to other people. Okay. And habits are conducive to success in life, right? We're raising them up, we're creating these successful habits for them, and it definitely is going to lead to success. There's certain things that this is not, I'm still learning even how to, my husband and I have been married almost 10 years, and I'm still learning not how to not, we're still learning how to not make more work for each other, and also teach our children how to have these habits to be successful in life. Okay. And then the last is the reflection. If mothers can learn to do for themselves what they do for their children, we would have happier households. And this is why habit stacking is going to be important for all of us is we don't want to have to spend those free times during nap and when the kids go to bed, just picking up after the kids and cleaning up their mess. We would be happier if we can find those bits and pieces, not only to pick up and do the dishwasher and have everyone help out and have a hot cup of coffee in peace, or take a shower and do some of those things that we're saving for those times throughout our day. So it frees up more time for us to be a wife, more time for us to sit in prayer, to bake, to draw, to find to find a hobby. And okay, because it is a big responsibility to be a home teacher, it is easy to get stressed. And this is from Charlotte Mason. Miss Mason understood the need for play in people of all ages. And I think for us as homeschool moms, we're like, yeah, our 2-year-old needs to play. They don't need to sit at a desk all day. Our 3-year-old needs to play. Our 4-year-old needs to play. Our 7-year-old needs to play. Well, we need to play too. Clearly, she's not talking about Legos. But she says if mothers can learn once again to do for themselves what they do for their children, they would have happier households. Just as a mother takes joy in seeing and hearing her children play, she would also benefit from a little play herself. Rather than wait until you are tottering on the brink of burnout, consider fitting in at least two 10-minute moments of mother culture a day. Play for a mother could mean simply sitting calmly at a favorite window long enough to finish a glass of iced tea. And I think one of, when we think about this, we often think, well, how are my children even gonna let me do that? But you're the one in control of your household, right? Like the Lord gave you that responsibility. So it's your job to teach your children that it is important for mommy to be able to have these moments. And we're also setting the tone for them. So when they have children, they're taking time out, and not only for yourself, but with your husband. If you're married, spending time with your husband and putting them to bed and not having them, lurking around when you're trying to have a nice romantic dinner, those are important. And so it's going to take time. It's going to take the investment, the discipline, but then the reflection of what can I do for myself? And that's what's leading me to the next few questions. Are we really taking time to play? Or are we spending our time too in a way that's surfing social media? I ran a business on social media for 3 years, and I had to give it up because I was constantly on my phone comparing myself to other people. When I had bits and pieces of time, I wasn't even working on things. I was just scrolling, and I was on TikTok watching all these recipes of what I want to do, and I never did anything. I just put it on Pinterest and it just sat there. So are we making time to actually do these things, or are we just scrolling? And what are some things that you would like to add into your day that can help us be mothers that the Lord set us out to be? Are you going to, do you want to start learning how to sew? Do you want to start making bread for your family? Is that life-giving to you? Do you want to, learn, I don't know, art, something, it's good for us to start reflecting on these things and thinking, what do I want to add in my day? But also, what are some things that we can relieve from our day that we're doing at nap time, like I said, or we're doing when the kids go to bed? For me, putting away the laundry, I was telling Crystal this, and we came up with, what? My family has to do the laundry together. My children have to put away their own clothes. Once again, it was easier for me to do it, but if we can do it together and take that time out and create these organizational things like a hook for their own coats, maybe the dresser's too high. Can we have a lower dresser or bins for them? Is it really worth spending an hour folding their underwear? Let's just throw them in a bin and let them do it. And I really recommend, if you haven't went and listened to my last call, it was all about organization. I have taken a lot of time to organize my house. And I have a lot of good ideas on there and resources for you. So please go back and listen to that call if you need some ideas. Okay, and then call to action. So this week, I would love, habits are the golden thread that hold the objectives together. Another great quote from Crystal. I would like for you, this is the call to action, over the next few weeks, I would say the next 2 weeks. So find 2 weeks within the next month before we meet again. Jot down everything you do and then figure out what's consistent. Spend a few minutes every day with the Father in prayer and ask him to reveal to you what is going to be rewarding to you as a person that he created you to be this person, an image of him. How can you edify yourself throughout the day to find pleasurable things? Ask the Father to reveal those things for you. And don't be afraid for your children to see you fail. When I started making bread, it was a disaster. And I was so sad because I put all this time into this, and it just was like, it was hard as a rock. And now I make beautiful challah bread and I'm so proud of myself. But my kids got to witness that. They got to witness mommy being upset and feeding it to the birds. So there was that. And so I would love for you to write down everything. You don't have to write down like take son to the bathroom, but if you're emptying the dishwasher, write it down. If you're cleaning the cat, whatever you're doing for 2 weeks, write down and then circle what's consistent. Because if you are emptying the dishwasher when the kids are napping, then maybe first thing in the morning, you and your kids can empty that dishwasher. So you just alleviated 20 minutes of time or 10 minutes of time when the kids are napping. So you could read a chapter of your book or, invest in a hobby that you want to set your mind to. And it's really important for your kids to see you have these hobbies, and to see them, you're learning, you're teaching them how to take care of themselves. So it's praying, it's writing them down over the next 2 weeks, circling what's consistent, praying to the Father to reveal to you those habits that you want to start taking on, those positive things. And we're going to talk about some of those things now after after we're done here, and ways that we could encourage and, add them into our day. Um, and then the giveaway, or I would love, even if the giveaway is over and you're listening to this, I would love for you to pop in the comments as the Father reveals it to you. Don't just go and do it now. What are some of the habits that you want to be implementing? So after you finish your homework or your call to action, go in the comments, drop, 2 of the habits that you're taking on. Like, I'm going to be doing 10 squats as I empty the dishwasher out, or I'm going to be reading my favorite chat, whatever, in the comments. So other women and other moms can get ideas. So I would love to see some interaction on that. Okay, that is everything. I think we can stop recording here, and then we can kind of round table, unmute yourselves. I want to see you.